Seen one strike. Now lawmakers have seen both. So why can't everyone agree on what really happened? Lines still blurred about blowing those alleged drug boats to bits, including 2 survivors.
It gives me no pleasure to say what I'm about to say because I worked with Pete Hegseth for 7 or 8 years at Fox News. This is an act of a war crime, ordering survivors who the law requires be rescued instead to be murdered. There's absolutely no legal basis for it. Everybody along the line who did it, from the Secretary of Defense to the Admiral to the people who actually pulled the trigger, should be prosecuted for a war crime for killing these 2 people.
More troubling news for Donald Trump regarding his narco-boat strike campaign. It was sold as a bold, decisive, and tough plan on defeating those trafficking drugs, and it seems to have blown up in his administration's face.
Breaking news, waving their arms. Sources telling CNN the admiral who formally called for the second strike on the alleged drug boat in the Caribbean told lawmakers that the survivors were waving at something in the air before the second strike, although they say it is unclear whether they were surrendering or asking a U.S. aircraft for help. We are also learning that Admiral Bradley told lawmakers that the boat was going to meet a larger vessel heading to Suriname. Suriname's a small South American country east of Venezuela. And that may matter because U.S. drug enforcement officials tell us that drug trafficking routes via Suriname are primarily destined for European markets, not the United States. Of course, President Trump has explicitly said that this boat was an imminent threat heading to the United States, saying, quote, the strike occurred while the terrorists were heading to the United States.
First, this week's added scrutiny of what even fellow Republicans have alluded to as a possible war crime regarding a alleged double boat strike back in September.
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. No kidding. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. Mm-hmm. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
You know what? I agree with 2016 Pete Hegseth.
And now this, a Colombian family is accusing the United States of killing an innocent fisherman and has taken their case to an international human rights commission. Back in September of 2025, one of dozens of strikes carried out by the U.S. forces against alleged drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean, Alejandro Carranza's vessel was bombed. The U.S. claims that the strike targeted a drug smuggling boat. Carranza's family, however, insists that he was just fishing with no ties to trafficking.